When you weave in your stories, it helps to build relatability with your reader, helps to build rapport, and it means that they actually remember you. I often find there are some authors that write a book that follows this principle with the before and after, but it doesn't have anything about the author. So they finish, they go, wow, I learned so much. And they go, oh, cool, who wrote the book? They go, oh my God, I don't know. Oh, don't worry, tell me something about them.
That's good.
Because they didn't learn anything about you. So what we want to do is weave in your story, because there are other types of authors that don't write any advice, and it's all me, here's my life story, I want you to fall in love with me, and you get to the end of the book and you're like, that was a big waste of time. So what we want to do is we don't want a book that's too much information, we don't want a book that's too much story, we want to combine them together. So you weave your story throughout it. Now, David, Jenny, and Maxine seem to be easy so far, so thank you. David says, wow, you just made it so much easier for me. Jenny says, totally right, and Maxine, totally true. Thank you very much. I'm glad you guys enjoying this. It's quite different to what you've probably read or heard before, but it's because this is what makes a book sell. Because guess what? You're not going to when you get to the book. You're talking about maybe this is what you want. Maybe you're struggling with this. Please don't only use it for that. You can actually pitch your book to the media, to publishers, and to readers before you've even written it using your outline. So as soon as you know what your book's going to include, that outline will help you pitch to other people. So typically, we like to work with our authors as early as possible in the process, and we use their book outline to decide what
That's good.
Some of you may have heard me talk about telling you.
And testament knowledge always pays the best interest.
So,
And testament knowledge always pays
information. Way. If you have only stories, you're missing out.
I just wanna keep dancing, romancing. You're so attractive. I'm bringing you action. I love it when you're talking, cause you're talking with passion. I love it when you're bringing me action. You're giving them captions. Practice, yeah. Negativity in the past tense. Shorty looking for balance, yeah. But it's a challenge, yeah. And I admire the honesty, and baby, honestly, I just want you next to me. You're my protection.
Small chapters. Things you need to nail when it comes to writing your book. Part 3 we're going to come on to next is how to pick your publisher and selecting your publishing route. And the final part is a live Q&A, which we're kind of starting here, but I want to move on to the final part shortly. So, Miriam, what if you want to change some chapter headings in the manuscript? So,
sell me a smoke screen and tell me in due time.
There's nothing. Even if you go that way,
Oh, not in this lifetime. Sell me a smoke screen and tell me in due time.
My advice, though, and this is a quick tip for everyone, is the more photos and images you have in the book, the harder it will be to maintain the quality. So books can either be printed mainly in black and white or in color. If you have lots of photos, black and white does not look very professional. So I wouldn't mind like sketches or graphics, so like infographics, things like that. But as soon as you have lots of photos, you need to challenge as to why am I having these photos? Because if you are, you might need to print it in color, which means the printing costs will go up, which means your publishing costs will go up. So buyers will have to spend more money. So it's a bit technical there, but hopefully that can help. Deo's put, how many versions of a book should you do and what should be different in each version? So it's totally up to you, lovely. If you only need one version of the book, you only need one version of the book. There's no right or wrong. The versions are more how many times do you want to make the changes? As a publisher, our biggest challenge is getting authors to let go of their book and go, you've done enough versions. That's fine. Like, let it go out, let it fly. People can benefit from it now. So there's no need for you to have a certain number of versions or different versions. If you publish your book and you want to make major changes to it, then of course you could do second editions and third editions. But I would always be, my goal as a publisher is making your book timeless. So you don't need to change it regularly unless you really want to. If your book has specific things in it that is only relevant in 2024, take it out and don't have it in your book, because every year you'll have to republish it. And trust me, you'll regret it, because I did the same thing with Just Write the Damn Book with Determined and Dangerous the first time. Right, I'm going to quickly answer the questions that have just come in. I'm way more questions now, so I might pause and go to these after this, but I'll answer these fairly quickly. So, Johnny, if you were designing an online course and a book with the same content, which would you launch first? Great question, Johnny. Book first. Always the book first, because the book will give you the status so that you can sell more of the course. And the book is usually the lower price point. So you can launch the book and get loads of people to want it, and then launch the course to those people because they're higher qualified. They might have read your book. You know, they're the ideal person for your course. We have a very unique launch strategy, and I'll give you a quick tip of it. If you can connect it to the course, you'll do a great job. So for example, it might be when you buy a copy of the book, you'll get a 7-day trial to the online course. So then people will trial it and go, oh, he has an online course. And then suddenly people are like, they might miss the trial, but guess what? I can buy the book and buy the course. Okay. Now you can see what I mean by my brain with strategy rather than writing. So yeah, you don't need the course recorded at the same time. That's probably quite complicated to try and do both. What you can do though is get people interested in the course, join a waiting list, and then you can launch it later. I would focus on launching one thing at the time. If you're trying to launch too many things, your audience will get confused. They won't even know what to buy, right? So focus on one thing, focus on the book first, get as much traction for that and get as many people interested, and then launch the course later on to those people. That'd be my advice. So hopefully that helped. Sean says, this sounds petty, never lovely, but I'm worried if I put a poll on social media about book content that one of my competitors will steal them and get it written before me. Yeah, this is a completely valid concern, lovely, especially in your industry, because I know that there are lots of people doing lots of things and people can move quite fast. What you could do, instead of putting it on your social media, is put it in your shop or get your team or yourself to mention it to people in the shop. So then only people who actually see it, or, you know, maybe you could have a QR code in the shop and it's like, hey, can you just scan the QR code and answer a few questions and maybe we'll feature you in the book, you know, something like that. That's what I would do, lovely. If the thing is, if we worry too much about this sort of stuff, it'll stop us. So just try and avoid the problem altogether. That's what I would do, lovely. Cool. And obviously send it to me. I'm your ideal client. I'll help. Cool. Right. Last question from Mandy before we go into the next part. So do you have a specific magic formula for a pitch? What would you look to see in order to give good question. So this is if you're pitching to publishers. So my advice, Mandy, is, and this is what I do. So I'm just going to speak from my experience as a publisher. You want the publisher to buy into you and the book. So whenever I'm interviewing authors or my team are interviewing authors and we're like deciding if we're going to work with them and publish them, the first thing is, are they passionate about helping people? Are they passionate about not just themselves? I get a lot of pitches from people that just want to make money quick, or they want to write a book so that they can have like this immediate status. And I just get this vibe that I'm like, is that in line with my values? So the first thing I would be saying is, in your pitch, put in things like why you're passionate about fixing a problem, why you're passionate about this subject. And then the second thing, what makes your book different? So guess what? Your book outline makes your book different. Nobody's book will be exactly the same as your book outline. They might have the same point A and point B, but what's in the middle will be different. So that's what I would recommend, Mandy. Make sure you show your passion and make sure you show why your book is different. You can also add in, you know, the status stuff you've already got. But even for me, and that's probably the wrong thing to say as a publisher, I don't really care how many awards our authors have or even how many followers our authors have before they work with us, because actually that's what we help them with. So The right publisher will be looking for potential, not guaranteed results straight away. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so just type a yes if you're ready to keep moving forward now, because I'm conscious we've been here an hour and 20 minutes. Thank you for all of you being so engaged, so alive, so awake, so caffeinated, possibly still so connected on the Zoom. Lots of yeses coming in. Fantastic. So actually, Mandy's question was a really good question to finish on, because now we're going to move on to how to pick your publishing route and select your publisher. So this is where my vulnerability and transparency is going to go to a new level. I had no clue how to publish a book when I first started. I knew I wanted to write a book. I set the commitment. I hope no one's heard this story before, but I'm going to say it anyway. I decided to write my book, and I was like, I have not got any time to lose. I had like no money left in the bank account, no clients. So I just announced on social media, by the way, my book is coming out on this date. Biggest mistake ever. I'd never written it before. I had no idea how to publish it. I just was hoping I would learn on YouTube. I did learn on YouTube. It was painful. I had many sleepless nights, and my team were not best pleased. So there are different publishing routes. And I think the sooner you pick your route, the better, because actually writing the book is only one step of the process. There's actually a 4-step process to writing your book that I'm going to take, to writing and publishing your book that I'm going to take you through today. I completely underestimated it when I first wrote my book. Okay. So the key thing is, if we think about publishing, there are 2 options. Either you do it or your publisher does it. It's as simple as that. So if you do it, what that means is you need to find how to self-publish. This might be what I did with my first book. You might be having to watch YouTube tutorials or go on Amazon and search for how to do it, or you delegate it to your publisher. And they are really the 2 main options. I didn't even know how to approach publishers when I first wrote my book. If I had known that at the beginning, I would have done it very, very differently. And I'm going to share with you what those options are now. So there are 3 routes to publishing a book. I must say at the beginning, there is no right or wrong. I have seen people do all of these 3 in different ways, and all of them get results. It depends on what result you're going for. They all have pros and cons. So please don't think, oh, I have to do that one, or I can't do that one. They're all different. So let's start with the first one. This is called traditional publishing. And basically, traditional publishing is what we've known for the longest period of time. It's been around since books ever existed. So traditional publishing is when you work with a publishing house. So this is maybe like Penguin or Hay House or Orion or all these big publishing houses. Okay. Just put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of traditional publishing before. You've read books that have been published by some of these names I've mentioned. Fantastic. So the good thing is, because you have listed a publisher, when people buy your book or when they hear about your book, you've got more status because you have a publisher. Now, the good thing about traditional publishing is that the publisher has usually quite a good audience or quite a good black book, if you will, and they will put you into places. So these is how you get into like WH Smith's stores, the physical bookstores, or you go through airports and you see your books there. One of my friends is a fiction author, and she was published by Penguin. And every time I go through Gatwick Airport and her book is in there, I'm like, oh my God, her book's out in Gatwick Airport, right? Like, it's really cool. The downside though, the gain is huge, but the cost can also be huge. So traditional publishing, what a lot of people don't tell you is you pay for the cost of it in 2 ways. Number 1, most traditional publishing houses will want ownership of part of your rights. What that means is, somewhere in your contract, it will say that the publishing house owns the rights to your book being printed. So that means if you want to buy your own copies of books, or you want to, I don't know, go to an event and give them out, you have to pay full price to the publisher for it because they own the rights. If you want to turn your book into something else, so I had a friend who was published with, in fact, I won't say where because it went very toxic, but she published with a traditional publisher, and she got offered a Netflix deal to turn her book into a docuseries. Now, I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but that should be an absolute no-brainer. Like, what? Of course I'd say yes to a Netflix deal. And guess what? They couldn't agree the terms with the publisher, and the publisher said no. So her Netflix deal was goodbye. So there are risks with publishing. Some people would say I'd rather have something than nothing, but the challenge you've got is at what cost? The other way that often we pay for traditional publishing is through our profits. So typically, you don't pay a traditional publisher to work with you, but they take a big cut of your profits. Most traditional publishers will take between 85% and 95% of your revenue, which is a huge amount of revenue. Now, this is why people say, yeah, but Chloe, I'd rather have 5% than 100% of nothing. But what if it's 5% of something and 100% of something? You know, what are we giving away? So traditional publishing works for some people. If you want to have a massive brand, if you want to go like on American TV shows and be paid as a personal brand, then traditional publishing can be a great route for you. The challenges, though, is getting in the door. Traditional publishers will want to make sure that you've got a defined audience, you've already got your own audience, you've already got followers and things like that. So there's ways you can do it. So that's the first way, traditional publishing. The second route which you can do, which I touched on earlier, is what we call self-publishing. This was what I did with my first book. And as I've shared, it can be very difficult to learn how to do it. But I didn't know there were any other routes. Most people think of just these two. So self-publishing is where you are what's called independently published. So you might see books on Amazon and it doesn't have a publisher name. It just says independently published. This means that you are your publisher. Now, the good thing about that is you don't have to pay anyone. And you also don't have to give away any rights at all. You own 100% of your rights. Now, the challenge with that, though, is if typically you're not giving anything to anyone, money or rights, you're doing it all yourself. So with self-publishing, you have to find your own graphic designer for the covers. You have to find your own editor. You might have to find someone to format the book. You might have to then physically order it, review it yourself, and then you'll be the one promoting it yourself. So you can get on Amazon and they'll show your book, but they won't promote it. Now, I often decide whether to share this or not because I don't want to put people off, but I want to be honest with you all because it's one of my core values. When I self-published, I was really grateful for the results on Amazon and I got offered the opportunity to go onto Waterstones. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I can be on Waterstones as well. I went through the application process and Waterstones came back and said, sorry, we can't actually feature you. You're exclusively locked in with Amazon. And I was like, what does that even mean? And how did I do that? And actually self-publishing, you've got to be very careful that you don't get stuck locked in with Amazon. Now, I had to undo most of our setup and relaunch the whole book again so that I could then not be exclusively stuck with Amazon. So the point I'm trying to make is if you're a tech guru, if you're a marketer, if you love doing shit yourself, self-publishing might be perfect for you. That was me, right? But if you're sat there going, Chloe, I don't want to have to learn how to publish, then it might not be for you. Okay. But the pros of self-publishing is that you get 100% of all your sales. So no one's going to come chasing you for the book sales. If someone buys your course afterwards or buys a product or service from you afterwards, that's all yours. Okay. So they're the first two. The third type is called hybrid publishing. Now, the reason I leave it till last is because it's the one that's come about the least, as in it's still very new. I think hybrid publishers started popping up probably about 8-9 years ago. It was still very new when I wrote my book. I didn't even know what it was. And we are now a hybrid publishing agency. So what this means is you work with a publisher. They are listed as your publisher. So you get all the benefits of the traditional publishing because they've got their own audience. They'll pitch you to all of their contacts. And you have a publisher, but it's hybrid between traditional and self-publishing, which means it has the best of both worlds. You don't pay the high percentages that you would pay to traditional publishing, and you keep 100% of your rights. So the way hybrid publishing works is you basically just leverage another publishing company and they act as your team. So, for example, the way we work is we don't take 100% of someone's profits. We don't take 95%. We take nothing. You keep 100% of it. We just charge a setup publishing fee, and that's it. Then we do all the work. But guess what? Because a hybrid publisher is listed as your publisher, it's in their interest to also get you great results, because that goes against their brand if your book flops. So we, at this point, touch wood and cross fingers, still have 100% success of best-selling authors that we've published. So every time we launch a book, I probably get a little bit more grey that we might drop that at any point, but we work our ass off to make sure we don't. So that's the reason why a hybrid publisher is a great option. Okay. It's a hell of a lot more doable for people because they don't need to check all the follower count and the audience count, and they're focusing on one thing: you getting great results with your books. Okay. So they are the three different routes of publishing. So you've got traditional publishing, self-publishing, hybrid publishing. Okay. So just put a yes in the chat if this is making sense so far. And have you found it useful me going through those routes? Because I very rarely used to share it, but I often find people get really good at writing their book and then get lost in how to get it out there. Okay. Yes, definitely. Love that. Lots and lots of yeses. This is cool. Okay. So now what I want to do, we are going to be moving on to our final sort of Q&A shortly. Sean says, yes, I thought there were only two routes. I was exactly the same when I started. Maxine, yes, you've explained useful gems. I'm glad. Terry, very useful, especially the pitfalls. Yes, so much fun in this workshop. Thank you for clarifying. You're very, very welcome. I'm glad. So what I'm going to do very shortly is I've still got plenty of questions I want to answer, and we've still got plenty of time, but I want to make sure that I'm able to serve and support you in the best possible way. So I want to ask you guys a question. Have you got value from this workshop so far? Type a yes in the chat if you found this useful. Some of you have answered that already just in your comments, but have you found it useful me taking you through this? Because again, I never used to run these 2-hour workshops. I sometimes find people with 2 hours struggle to sit still and learn a lot. But I try not to focus too much on that and make sure we give you as much as possible results. Okay, cool. So second question, would you see value in getting further support from me and the team? Would you see value in finding out how you can actually hybrid publish your book? So as I mentioned, we are a hybrid publisher. We specialize in entrepreneurs' books, so expert books, speakers, podcasters, but we can only take on a handful of clients at any one point in time. But what I thought I would do is run you through how you write and publish your book now. And then if you do want to find out more, we can have an opportunity to have a chat with you, have a call, and answer any questions that you've got. Okay. So I'm just going to run you through how we work as a hybrid publisher first. And of course, you can then also have a think about, and by the way, even if you're like, Chloe, I know I don't want to work with a hybrid publisher, I'm going to do it myself. Make a note of these steps, because if your publisher's not doing it, you'll need to do it. Okay. So here are the steps. This is how we work as a publisher. So the first step when it comes to your book is writing the book. So as a publisher, we are the only hybrid publisher in the UK that does all of these 4 steps in-house. So the first thing we do is we will mentor you one-to-one on writing your book. So we'll get really clear on the book outline, get really clear on the A and the B and the bit in the middle, and we will keep you accountable every single week to moving you forward with your book journey. Now, if you're thinking, oh no, I'm going to have a message every week, I'm going to get told if I haven't done it. I can see some of our current clients on this call smiling a little bit going, she's not wrong. This is how we work. So you get paired with a mentor who's going to guide you through the whole process. Now, please don't panic if you're thinking, Chloe, I've got a busy life. We will set the timeline with you. So it's not like we're like, cracking the whip. You haven't done it. If you say to me, can you bother me every 2 weeks? Then we do that instead. Okay. But the key thing here is accountability and guidance. So we will guide you through the writing journey. Okay. Once you've done that, the second step is the publishing process. Now, a lot of people say to me, but Chloe, isn't publishing the final step? That's where most authors go wrong. You're only halfway through the process. So the way we work as a publishing house is we will design you a professional cover. We will format, set up your book, and you own 100% of the rights to it. So we will set all of the accounts up in your name. You can log in at any time to see what your sales are, see how it's worked, and you have all the access that you need. But at this point, at this step, this gets you to having a physical book at your front door ready to have a look through. So we like to make sure that you get a physical proof that you can read through. And by the way, there's no better feeling in the book writing journey when your book arrives at your front door in an Amazon packet and you open it, it's got your name on the front. It feels incredible. And sometimes we get tears. We do like tears. It's usually positive tears, but it starts to feel really real. So that's the second step. The third step, which is the make or break if you want to be a best-selling author, is what we call the positioning stage. So at the positioning stage, this is where we are looking at your competition. This is when we get our marketing hats on and we're going, right, what other books are out there? What are prices are they? What categories are they in? What's the industry like? What other books are coming up? So we can position your book in the best possible places. Now, this isn't about having having categories that are conveniently easy to get number one in, but mean nothing to your business or your book. Okay. So I have had some people say to me, Chloe, can you put me in that category? And we say no, because they are, I don't know, writing a book on fitness, but they want to be put in mathematicians' biographies because it's a really not competitive category, right? Quick tip. There is no point in having authority if you don't have any authenticity. Okay. You want to get this and you want to be freaking proud and like screenshot it and be like, I'm in number one in this category. It's amazing, right? So we will do that. We'll also do all the pricing for you. So we have different price points for different books, for your launch price, for your full price. There's a whole pricing strategy that we go into. I won't bother you with the spreadsheet. It's quite technical. But the key is you're pricing your book in the best possible place. Okay. And then the final step is promoting your book. So this is at the point where the book is now ready to go live. You don't just go, hey, buy my book. We have a very specific marketing strategy that we do time and time again that works for our authors. And we do what's called a 14-day campaign. So our in-house marketing team, it's not a separate team, it's people that do my marketing for my podcast, for my books. We will craft you up your full day campaign, email campaigns, graphics, videos, if that's what you want. If you're looking at me going, Chloe, please don't put me on a video. We don't need to put you on a video. It's up to you what works for you. But the goal here is to launch your book on launch day with success. That also includes PR, post-launch promotion. Recently, I've just had a green light for the team that we're actually inviting some of our authors on my podcast so that we can talk about their book. And some of our authors, it's just blown their brands up, because they're leveraging us essentially. And so that's our 4-step process. Now, Lucy has asked a great question. What about the editing? Thank you so much for asking that question. That's all done at step 1. We have an incredible team of editors. They're more perfectionists than I am. So they are very good at finding the gaps and structural edits and also proofreading and formatting as well. So yeah, I completely relate to the spelling and the grammar, and that's all resolved at the writing stage as well for you, lovely. Okay, so they are the 4 steps of our publishing process. So we go from writing, publishing, positioning, and promotion. So if it's something that you think, do you know what, Chloe, I'd love to find out more, and maybe you'd want to have a chat with us about how we can work with you and how we pick our authors, then I do have an opportunity for you guys here. Now, please don't panic. There is nothing for you to buy at any point here. I've got to be really clear. This is not the sort of thing that you can get your credit card out and type in as quick as possible. We actually don't take any cash from our clients until about the 3rd or 4th time we've spoken to them, okay? Because we need to make sure it's a really good fit for us and for them, okay? So please don't panic. We can all relax about that now. What I will say is the way I like to select our authors is through an application call. So what I'll be doing very shortly is I'll be opening up my calendar, and you can actually book in a call with me and the team. And what we'll be doing on that call, 2 things will happen, okay? The first thing is I will get to know you and your book, and I will make sure I give you at least one strategy to help you right now. So with whatever bit you're stuck on, I'll make sure we can get you unstuck on that during that Zoom call. And if I feel like we could work together, then I might invite you to have another conversation with us about how that can work. Okay. But that's only if I feel like we're a good fit for you and you're a good fit for us. Okay. So I've got to be really clear, because this isn't for everyone. As I said, we can only publish a handful of books every year. This won't be for you if you're the sort of person that maybe wants to try it on your own. Maybe you're like, do you know what, Chloe? I have a bit of a passion project. I'd like to dabble. I'll give it a go. Then that's totally fine. Then this probably isn't for you. Okay. And I have to be really clear. My diary is chocker. I'm actually away next week. So it's literally just this week that we'll have these opportunities. So I can't be having calls booked in if people are thinking and they'd rather just test it on their own. It's probably not for you. If it's not a priority for you right now, if you're thinking, do you know what? Actually, this is just an idea at this stage, and I've got plenty of other things going on, and it's not a priority for me, then maybe this call isn't for you. Or if it's a passion project and you don't have a specific goal, I know we talked about results and goals earlier in the workshop, but if you're like, yeah, this isn't really for my business, I'm not really bothered about the result, then maybe this isn't for you. Just being honest, because we like to kick ass sometimes with our clients, and we really like to get really good results. So if someone's a bit like not really motivated, for us it can be really difficult because we're always like, let's go, let's get the result. Okay, so if any of that sounds like you, then maybe this isn't for you. Okay, however, this is for you if you're serious about getting your book published. Maybe you've had a book in the back of your mind for ages. Maybe people have said to you, oh, you need to write a book, and now you're thinking, do you know what, now is the time, and you're serious about getting it. Okay, then this is for you. If you want to build your status, maybe you're done being not as well known and you want to be seen as your authority in your industry to build your business, then this is for you. And if you know that your book is your next step to your growth, maybe you've got other things going on, but you're like, I know the book is going to open the doors, then this is for you. Okay. So if that sounds like you, then here's what you can do. What I'm going to do is we're going to pop a link in the chat now, and it's going to go directly to my Calendly. Okay. In there, when you click on that, there'll be a selection of times. I'll be honest, as I've said, I'm away most of next week, so my diary is really limited. And this is with me, by the way, not with the team. Okay. So this at this point will be with me. You can have a chat with me and ask me any questions you've got, provided I feel like we're a good fit and we can work together on your book. So what you got to do, click that link. When you open up that link, it will take you to a Calendly page. Pick a time and a day that feels best for you. And when you get to that stage, pick the day and time, populate your details. There is a bit of information to fill in just so I can gauge as much as possible from you before we have the chat. And then you'll be able to join that call. I'll ask you some questions.
you.